There are moments when the weight of silence feels unbearable. You pray, you wait, you look for any sign that God is listening, yet you're met with silence. And it's in those moments when the heavens feel closed that a storm of questions begins to brew within. Does God hear me? Has He forgotten about me? The pain of feeling overlooked, ignored, or forsaken can shake even the strongest believer. But what if, in the very silence that seems so empty, there's something powerful unfolding, something God is doing beyond what you can see? Stay with me as we journey into the heart of this silence. Because what feels like distance may actually be God drawing you into something greater. When life weighs on us, it's easy to misinterpret God's silence as neglect, to feel abandoned when we've invested our faith and our whole heart into seeking Him. Yet, I tell you today, God's ways are not like ours. His timing is not bound by our clocks, and His purpose is not diminished by our impatience. There's a profound work that God performs in the stillness, a deep refining that takes place when His voice is absent, or so it seems. He moves beyond our senses, preparing the soil of our spirit, cultivating faith and trust that only the silence can produce. God's silence isn't a sign of His absence, it's an invitation to deeper faith. Just because we don't hear Him doesn't mean He's not speaking sometimes. God is whispering through circumstances, through the waiting, teaching us to seek Him beyond the noise. Remember Job, who cried out to God in the depths of despair, longing for an answer, yet what did God do? He remained silent until the time was right, and then when He spoke, it was with wisdom and revelation that Job couldn't have grasped if he hadn't first experienced the silence. In those quiet stretches, God is allowing our faith to be exercised, to grow resilient and steady, prepared to face the storms of life. In the book of Isaiah, God tells His people, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways." We often interpret this to mean that God's plans are mysterious, but there's more to it. God's way of working is not limited to our understanding or preferences. His ways are designed for the ultimate good, even if they are veiled in silence. He calls us to walk by faith, not by sight. And in those lonely moments, when it feels like we're wandering in darkness, He's drawing us closer, deepening our dependence on Him, stretching our souls beyond the limits we've set. Imagine a sculptor working on a masterpiece. With each strike of the chisel, pieces are removed, parts that were never meant to be part of the final work. The process can seem harsh and unforgiving, yet the artist sees the vision that we cannot. God, as our divine sculptor, is shaping us, chiseling away at our impatience, our doubt, and our need for control. And just like that, He uses silence, allowing parts of us to be stripped away, so what remains is pure, refined, and prepared for His purposes. Silence also creates a void, an empty space within us that aches to be filled. And it's in that space where we come face to face with our need for Him, for His presence, His voice, His reassurance. This emptiness isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity to recognize that nothing else can satisfy us like He can. God uses silence to reveal our dependency, to show us the void that only He can fill. When we seek other voices, other solutions, we realize quickly how fleeting they are, how unsatisfying they become. Only God's voice brings true peace, and He allows us to experience that longing so that when we finally hear Him again, we'll know just how precious that connection is. Faith without testing is shallow. It's the trials, the silence, the waiting that give it depth. Abraham, called the father of faith, had to wait for the promise of a son, enduring years of silence with no sign that God's promise would come true. Yet it was precisely that waiting that strengthened his faith, preparing him for the moment when he would stand ready to sacrifice his promised son in obedience. In that silence, God was building the faith that would define generations, the faith that would lay the foundation for a people chosen and loved by God. In the Psalms, we see the writers crying out to God from places of despair, confusion, and silence. "How long, O Lord, will you forget me forever?" they plead. But these cries are not cries of hopelessness. They are prayers forged in faith, in trust that despite the silence, God is still there, still faithful, still working. We too must learn to cry out to Him, to bring our fears, our doubts, and our questions to His throne, believing that He hears even when He doesn't respond the way we expect. This cry, born out of silence, becomes a powerful act of faith, a declaration that we will wait on the Lord, trusting in His timing and purpose. God is the author of our faith, and as any good author knows, there are moments when the story must take a pause, when tension builds and the character is refined. He's writing a story with our lives, a story that may involve moments of silence, chapters where it seems like the plot has stalled. But what if the silence is merely the prelude to the next chapter? What if the pause is part of the masterpiece, an essential element in a story that will ultimately bring Him glory and reveal His love in ways we cannot yet fathom? God's silence is a reminder that we are not in control, that we are not the architects of our own lives. We live in a world that celebrates independence, that exalts self-sufficiency. But in the silence, God gently breaks down our pride, our self-reliance, and draws us back to Him, reminding us that He is the source of our strength, our wisdom, and our purpose. He is not ignoring us, He is teaching us to surrender, to let go of our need for answers, and to rest in the assurance of His love. In moments of silence, we have the opportunity to seek God's heart, to listen not with our ears, but with our spirit. God's communication is not always audible sometimes. He speaks through the peace that surpasses understanding, the comfort that defies explanation, the quiet confidence that sustains us when nothing makes sense. He is whispering to our souls, "Be still, and know that I am God." It's a reminder that His presence is with us, even when His voice is not. Faith is built on the unseen, on the hope that transcends our present circumstances. And God, in His infinite wisdom, knows that the silence will strengthen us, that it will cultivate a resilience that can withstand any storm. He allows us to walk through the valley of silence, not to abandon us, but to prepare us, to equip us for the calling He has placed on our lives. We may feel alone, forgotten, but He is there, orchestrating every step, guiding us even when we cannot see the way. The silence of God is an invitation to discover Him anew, to peel back the layers of who we think He is and find the truth of His nature. It's in these quiet seasons that we come to understand His sovereignty, His mercy, and His unwavering faithfulness. We learn to rely not on the signs or the wonders, but on the character of God Himself, the one who is faithful even when we are faithless, the one who never leaves nor forsakes His children. So when you find yourself in the silence, remember that it is not a place of abandonment, but a place of transformation. God is not done with you. He is working, molding, and shaping you for His purpose. The silence is not empty. It is full of His love, His plans, His promises. He is the God who sees, who hears, who remembers, and in due time He will reveal the beauty of His plan, the fullness of His presence, and the depth of His love. Let the silence draw you closer, let it deepen your faith, and know that in His perfect timing God will speak. In the silence, God is teaching us to rely not on external confirmations, but on His unchanging nature. The truth is, if we base our relationship with God on constant validation, we reduce faith to mere feelings, and our walk with Him becomes fragile, dependent on temporary comforts rather than eternal truths. Faith, real faith, is refined in these moments of silence when everything around us seems to contradict what we believe. God calls us to walk by faith and not by sight, because the unseen holds far greater significance than what we perceive in the present moment. Consider the story of Joseph, a man who had a divine dream and a vision from God. Yet after receiving that promise, he was plunged into a series of events that seemed to contradict everything God had shown him. He was sold into slavery, wrongfully imprisoned, and forgotten in a dungeon for years. There, in the silence of prison, where the promise seemed impossible, and the vision far from reality, God was with him, molding his character, refining his patience, and preparing him for the moment when he would rise to a position of power that would not only fulfill his dreams, but save nations. Joseph's silence was not evidence of abandonment, but of God's careful preparation. And when the time was right, every piece of that silence became a building block in God's divine plan, a foundation for the destiny that had been promised. Just like Joseph, when we feel that God is silent, it often means that He is doing His most profound work in our lives, a work that requires us to trust without seeing, to wait without knowing. God's silence is a tool to shape us, to strip away the noise and distractions, allowing our hearts to focus solely on Him. This season of waiting, of questioning, is not wasted. It is in these moments that we truly find out what we believe, where our faith is tested and proven. Our faith is tested because it is easy to trust God when everything is clear, when His voice is audible, when the path is smooth. But the silence pushes us to the edge of ourselves, to a place where we must choose between clinging to God's promises or giving into doubt. This choice is where faith is strengthened. God allows us to wrestle with our doubts, to bring our questions and fears before Him, because it is in this wrestling that we learn to hold on to Him with a deeper conviction, a faith that no silence or circumstance can shake. In this refining process, we come to a point where our dependence on Him shifts from needing constant reassurance to resting in the knowledge of His love. We no longer rely on our emotions or circumstances as the foundation of our faith. Instead, we learn to trust God's character, to remember His faithfulness, and to recall the times when He has come through for us in the past. Just as a tree grows stronger in the absence of rain, its roots digging deeper in search of water, our faith is strengthened as we dig deeper into God's Word, His promises, and His truth during the dry seasons of silence. God's timing is perfect, and His silence is part of that timing. Sometimes what feels like delay is simply God working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing people, and orchestrating events that will come together in His perfect moment. The silence is often the interlude before the breakthrough. The quiet before the answer we've been seeking is revealed. And when that moment comes, we realize that the silence was not wasted. It was God's way of preparing us for the fullness of His promise. As we grow in our understanding of God's character, we begin to see that His silence is not a void but a space filled with purpose. God's silence is not an indication of His distance, but a sign of His deep involvement in the process of our growth. He is not silent because He is uncaring. He is silent because He is crafting something within us that cannot be formed any other way. The longer the silence, the greater the work He is performing, a work that may not be visible now but will bear fruit in due time. There's a profound intimacy that develops in the silence, a closeness with God that we might not experience if His voice were constantly loud and clear. When we feel forsaken or forgotten, we have a choice to turn away in frustration or to press in deeper, seeking Him with a hunger that only grows stronger in the silence. This pursuit, this relentless seeking draws us closer to God, allowing us to experience His presence in a way that goes beyond words or signs. We begin to sense Him in the quiet moments, to feel His hand guiding us, even when we cannot hear His voice. In the silence, God teaches us patience, a virtue that is invaluable in our walk with Him. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active trust. It is standing firm in the promise, even when everything around us suggests that the promise is impossible. Patience requires endurance, a willingness to wait without losing hope, and to trust that God's timing is better than our own. The silence is where we learn to surrender our own timelines, our own desires for immediate answers, and to rest in the assurance that God knows what He is doing. It is here, in the silence, that we find peace that surpasses all understanding. This peace does not come from answers or solutions. It comes from knowing that we are in the hands of a loving Father who is working all things together for our good. Even when we cannot see His hand, we trust His heart. We trust that His silence is not a sign of neglect, but of deep, abiding love, a love that sees beyond our present moment, a love that is willing to let us endure the silence for the sake of something greater. And let us not forget that Jesus Himself experienced the silence of God. On the cross, in His darkest hour, He cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" In that moment, He felt the weight of abandonment, the full silence of God. Yet even then He surrendered, trusting the Father's will. Jesus endured the silence so that we might never be truly abandoned. Because of His sacrifice, we have the assurance that God is with us, even in the silence. Jesus' cry on the cross reminds us that silence does not mean separation. Rather, it can be a place of profound connection with the Father, a place where our faith is deepened and our love for Him grows. The silence also purifies our motives. When God's voice is absent, we are left to examine our own hearts, to ask ourselves why we are truly seeking Him. Are we following Him for the blessings, the answers, the miracles? Or are we following Him because we love Him, because we desire to be close to Him, regardless of what He can give us? In the silence, we are confronted with our own motives, and we are given the opportunity to purify our hearts, to seek God for who He is, not merely for what He can do. This is the beauty of God's silence. It strips away everything that is superficial, everything that is shallow, and it leaves us with a faith that is pure, unshakable, and resilient. When we come out of the silence, we emerge stronger, with a deeper understanding of who God is and who we are in Him. We are no longer dependent on signs or wonders to sustain our faith. We are grounded in the truth of His love, a love that does not waver, even in the silence. When we walk through seasons of silence, we are walking the path of the prophets, the path of the saints who have gone before us. We are joining a lineage of faith, a history of men and women who trusted God even when they could not hear Him. They stood on His promises, they held fast to His word, and they allowed the silence to deepen their faith. We are not alone in this journey. We are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses who have experienced the silence and have come out stronger on the other side. The silence is not meant to defeat us, but to empower us. It is a training ground, a place where God prepares us for the calling He has placed on our lives. We may not understand it now, but there will come a day when we look back and see the purpose of every moment of silence, every unanswered prayer, every delay. And on that day we will stand in awe of the masterpiece that God has woven from the threads of our waiting, our longing, and our faith. When you feel forgotten by God, remember that you are part of a greater story, a story that is being written with purpose and love. The silence is not the end, it is a chapter in the journey. God is with you, even in the quietest moments, even when you cannot see or hear Him. He is working all things together for your good, and His love for you is unchanging, unbreakable, and eternal. The silence is a gift, a sacred space where faith is tested, refined, and strengthened. It is an invitation to trust, to surrender, and to believe that God is faithful, even when He seems silent. Even in the silence, God's presence surrounds you. Though you may not feel Him, His nearness is profound, as close as your next breath. He is holding you steady, shaping you quietly, molding you into the person you are destined to become. When you feel abandoned or overlooked, consider this truth: God's eyes are still on you. He is observing every step, every struggle, every sigh, and He is still in complete control. The silence is not a void, it is a sacred place where God's plans for you are unfolding, and His promises are being built with precision. His timing, though often beyond our comprehension, is never late and is always right. God's silence is not passive. It is filled with His active involvement in your life more than you can see. Every delay is intentional, every quiet moment is purposeful. In these seasons of waiting, we are challenged to embrace a level of trust that defies human understanding. This trust, this radical reliance on God, does not come easily. It requires surrender of our fears, our timelines, and our need to know. In letting go of these, we find freedom. We find that God is trustworthy, even when He doesn't provide immediate answers. We find that His plans, though hidden, are far better than our own. In these moments of stillness, God is developing in you a resilience that cannot be shaken. He is teaching you to stand firm, not on shifting sands, but on the solid rock of His faithfulness. You see, resilience is born in the fire. It is in the seasons where God seems distant that we are purified, that our faith is tested and emerges as gold. God is not cruel, He is not indifferent to your pain. He is aware and He cares deeply. He allows us to walk through these seasons because He knows the strength and character that will result. These times are uncomfortable, but they are critical. It is here that we discover what it means to truly rely on Him, not just in word but in action and heart. Imagine a father teaching his child to swim. He lets go momentarily, allowing the child to feel the water around them, to learn to move on their own. But He is right there, close by, watching, ready to reach out if needed. The child may feel the father's absence for a moment, but the father's eyes never leave the child. He allows the momentary separation for the child's growth and confidence. In the same way, God may allow us to feel alone for a moment, but He is always watching, always ready to intervene. This temporary silence is His method of teaching us to lean on Him with a deeper faith, to trust that He is with us, even when we cannot sense Him. The journey of faith is not about perpetual comfort or immediate understanding. It is about growing into the likeness of Christ. Jesus Himself experienced silence from the Father, especially in Gethsemane, where He cried out, "If it is possible, let this cup pass from me." In that moment, He felt the weight of human fear and the overwhelming silence of God. But even in that silence, Jesus chose surrender. He chose to trust the Father's plan, though it meant walking into the unknown, enduring pain, and facing death. And because of His obedience, we are now recipients of salvation and grace. If Jesus, the Son of God, experienced silence and yet trusted, how much more should we, as His followers, be willing to trust in the quiet seasons? God's silence cultivates a hunger in us for His word. When we cannot hear His voice, we are drawn to Scripture, the written revelation of His promises and His character. In the pages of the Bible, we find the reminders we need, the truths that anchor us when everything else feels uncertain. His word becomes our source of comfort, our source of clarity in the fog. The Bible is not just a book, it is God speaking directly to us, revealing His heart, His ways, and His plans. When we immerse ourselves in Scripture, we begin to see that God has not left us without guidance. His voice may be silent, but His word remains active, alive, and powerful. It reminds us that God is always faithful, even when we cannot feel Him. The silence also humbles us. It brings us to a place of complete dependence, where we realize that in our own strength we cannot navigate life's complexities. We cannot force God's hand or manipulate His timing. All we can do is surrender, to trust Him fully. This humility is essential, for it strips us of pride, of the illusion of control. It brings us to our knees, where we are finally able to see that God alone is sovereign, that His wisdom is beyond our own. In this humility, we find peace that comes from knowing that we are not responsible for making everything happen, but that we serve a God who holds all things together. As we wait, God's silence is also building empathy within us. We begin to understand the struggles of others who walk through seasons of doubt and silence. We become more compassionate, more understanding, and more willing to encourage those around us. Our own experiences of silence equip us to be sources of comfort to others, reminding them that God is faithful even in the quiet. We become voices of hope, sharing the truth that God's love does not waver, even when His voice seems absent. Through our testimonies, others are reminded that they are not alone, that God's silence is a shared experience, one that builds community and strengthens the body of Christ. The silence prepares us for a deeper revelation of God. When He finally speaks, when the answers come, we are ready to receive them with gratitude, with a heart that values His voice above all else. The silence creates in us a hunger that only He can satisfy. When the breakthrough comes, it is sweeter, more profound, because we have walked through the silence. We realize that God's wisdom and timing are perfect, that His ways are higher than our ways, and that His love for us is unwavering, even when hidden behind a veil of quiet. God's silence is never wasted. It is the seedbed of trust, the soil in which faith grows deep roots. It is the dark night before the dawn, the preparation ground for the glory that is to come. In this place, we are transformed. We emerge with a faith that is steadfast, a heart that is steadfast, and a trust that is unshakable. And as we look back, we see that God was with us all along, crafting a story of faith and perseverance, a story that brings glory to His name. When we understand that God's silence is not abandonment, but an invitation to deeper faith, we can rest in His love. We can find peace in the waiting, knowing that the God who began a good work in us will carry it to completion. The silence becomes a sanctuary, a sacred place where our relationship with God is refined, deepened, and strengthened. We learn to love Him for who He is, not merely for what He can do. This is the greatest gift of all, a love that is pure, a faith that is steadfast, and a trust that endures. God is with you even in the silence. His presence is unwavering, His love is steadfast, and His plans for you are good. Let the silence draw you closer to Him. Let it deepen your faith, purify your heart, and strengthen your soul. For when the silence finally breaks, you will find that God has been with you all along, preparing you for something greater than you could have ever imagined. In the silence, God is fortifying you with the wisdom that surpasses human understanding. This isn't a passive process. As you wait, He's intricately weaving patience and humility into the fabric of your spirit. When life feels stagnant and your cries to heaven seem unheard, God is actually drawing you deeper into a faith that goes beyond feelings. In these quiet moments, He's teaching you that your relationship with Him is not dependent on constant signs or emotional highs, but on a steadfast love that endures regardless of circumstance. When we come to this realization, our faith moves from fragile to resilient, from dependent on our circumstances to rooted in an eternal hope that cannot be shaken. Every believer, at some point, encounters what feels like a spiritual wilderness. Even biblical figures experienced this. Moses spent 40 years in the desert before leading Israel. David hid in caves, pursued by enemies, before becoming king, and Joseph languished in prison before ascending to a position of authority in Egypt. What appears to be a time of stagnation is actually preparation for what lies ahead. God is shaping your character, stretching your endurance, and testing the strength of your commitment to His purpose. These seasons strip away all distractions and bring us face to face with our truest selves. When you are alone with God, undistracted by noise or accolades, you can hear His voice more clearly. And often it's in the silence that we hear His whisper, that reminds us of who we are and whose we are. The silence teaches us to rely on God's promises, not just on His presence. It's easy to trust God when everything is going well and you can feel His guidance. But faith is refined and proven in the waiting, when you can't sense His movement but still choose to believe in His promises. This unwavering confidence in His word is what separates mature faith from fleeting faith. It's the difference between having a shallow, circumstantial faith and a deeply rooted, enduring relationship with God. When you meditate on His promises during times of silence, you begin to realize that God's character doesn't change, even if His methods do. His love, His goodness, and His faithfulness remain constant, and they are as sure in the quiet seasons as they are in times of blessing and abundance. As difficult as it is to understand, God is far more concerned with who you are becoming than with how quickly you reach your destination. In the silence, He is refining your character, shaping you into someone who can carry the weight of His blessing with integrity and humility. Many people want the promise, but are unprepared for the responsibility it brings. Just as an athlete undergoes intense training and discipline to build endurance and strength, so too must we undergo spiritual preparation in order to carry out God's plans. These silent seasons prepare you to handle the responsibilities, challenges, and blessings that lie ahead. The process may be long and arduous, but the result is a maturity and steadfastness that cannot be developed any other way. There is a profound peace that comes when we accept that we don't have to understand everything God is doing. We come to a place of rest when we acknowledge that His ways are higher than our ways, His thoughts beyond our thoughts. This doesn't mean we stop seeking or asking, but it does mean we surrender the need to control or predict His movements. When we place our trust fully in Him, we release the burden of needing all the answers. Our hearts find rest in knowing that God is sovereign, that He is for us, and that His timing is perfect. This peace is not the absence of questions or even struggle, but the presence of a deep-rooted trust that He is working all things for our good, even when we can't see it. In this place of surrender, we learn to wait without wavering. Waiting is not a passive state, it's an active choice to keep trusting, to keep believing, and to keep moving forward, even when we feel unseen or unheard. The Bible often speaks of waiting on the Lord as a position of strength, not weakness. Isaiah 40:31 tells us that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength, mount up with wings like eagles, run and not be weary, walk and not faint. This kind of waiting is powerful. It is choosing to believe that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events and preparing us for what is to come. Waiting with expectation keeps our faith alive and reminds us that God is faithful to fulfill His promises. Sometimes God's silence is an invitation to press deeper into prayer. When answers don't come easily, our natural inclination might be to withdraw, but God calls us to press in. He desires that we approach Him not out of duty, but out of a longing to know Him more. In these times, prayer shifts from merely presenting our requests to seeking His heart, His presence, and His will. This is where our relationship with God is transformed from a transactional interaction to an intimate fellowship. We begin to understand that God's greatest gift is not what He can do for us, but simply being with Him. As our focus shifts, our prayers become less about receiving answers and more about drawing near to Him, about aligning our hearts with His purposes. In our silence, we also grow in empathy and compassion. When you've walked through seasons of feeling forgotten or overlooked, you gain a unique sensitivity to the struggles of others. You understand the weight of waiting, the frustration of not having answers, and the weariness that can come with prolonged silence. This empathy is invaluable in building relationships and serving others. God uses your journey to prepare you to be a source of encouragement to those around you. Through your experiences, He equips you to speak hope, life, and faith into others' lives, reminding them that they are not alone and that God's faithfulness endures. God's silence teaches us to value His voice above all else. When the silence breaks, when God speaks or reveals His plan, it is like a refreshing rain after a long drought. His words become more precious, more treasured, because we have learned not to take His voice for granted. We understand that His words carry life, direction, and peace, and we approach Him with reverence and gratitude. This shift is crucial in our walk of faith. We learn to listen attentively, to treasure His guidance, and to obey Him with a heart that recognizes the privilege of hearing from Him. Our perspective changes, and we begin to see that God's voice is not something to be demanded or expected on our terms, but a sacred gift that He gives in His perfect timing. The silence brings us to a place where we truly understand that God is all we need. We often say this, but it is in the seasons of silence and waiting that we come to know it at the core of our being. When all other voices fade, when all other comforts are stripped away, we are left with the reality of God's presence and His unchanging love. In this place, we come to a profound understanding that He alone is enough. This is the foundation of a life that is unshakable, a life that is built on the rock of His love and faithfulness. We no longer seek validation, worth, or purpose from anything or anyone else, because we have found everything we need in Him. This journey teaches us that true fulfillment is found not in answered prayers or visible signs, but in the assurance of God's love and faithfulness. It is about knowing that we are His, and that He will never leave us nor forsake us. When we reach this place of understanding, the silence becomes a sacred space, a place where we encounter God in a way that changes us forever. We realize that His love is steadfast, His plans are perfect, and His timing is flawless. The journey may not have been easy, but it leads us to a depth of relationship with God that we could not have achieved any other way. And as we emerge from the silence, we are stronger, wiser, and more deeply rooted in His love. In this silence, we learn that God is preparing us for something greater, something that requires the depth of character He is developing within us. We may not see it now, but every moment, every tear, every unanswered question is part of His divine preparation. He is positioning us to walk into the destiny He has prepared, with a faith that is unshakable and a heart that is fully His. This is the gift of the silence, the hidden blessing that we often overlook. It is in these moments that we become more than we ever thought possible. Not because of what we have achieved, but because of who He has made us to be in Him. And as we move forward, even if the silence continues, we do so with the assurance that God is with us, that His love surrounds us, and that His promises are sure. We walk not in our own strength, but in the strength that comes from a deep and abiding relationship with the One who has called us, who holds us, and who is faithful to complete the work He has begun. In the midst of our waiting, we also discover the beauty of surrender. Surrender is not a sign of weakness, but an act of strength that acknowledges God's sovereignty over our lives. When we release our desires and plans into His hands, we open ourselves to His perfect will. It's a challenging process because it requires us to let go of control and trust that He knows what's best for us. Many of us struggle with the fear that if we surrender completely, we might miss out on our dreams or desires. But true surrender doesn't lead to loss, it leads to the discovery of a deeper purpose and fulfillment that far exceeds anything we could have planned for ourselves. This surrender is beautifully depicted in the life of Jesus. In the Garden of Gethsemane, he faced the most agonizing decision of his life. He knew the suffering that awaited him, yet he submitted to the Father's will. "Not my will, but yours be done," he prayed. This moment of surrender didn't mean that he wasn't anxious or fearful. It meant that he chose to trust his Father above all else. When we echo these words in our own lives, we acknowledge that his plans for us are good, even if we can't see the path ahead. This trust allows us to endure the silence, knowing that we are held in the palm of his hand. In our surrender, we also learn about the importance of community and connection with others. When we feel forgotten, it's easy to withdraw and isolate ourselves. But God designed us for relationship, and it's in those moments of vulnerability that we can lean on others for support. Sharing our struggles with trusted friends or mentors can bring perspective and encouragement. It reminds us that we are not alone in our journey, that others have faced similar feelings of abandonment and have emerged stronger on the other side. Community serves as a reminder of God's faithfulness as we hear stories of how He has worked in the lives of those around us. Moreover, it's essential to understand that feelings of abandonment or silence do not equate to God's absence. He is always present, even when we can't perceive Him. Psalm 139 beautifully illustrates this truth. "Where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence?" No matter how far we wander or how deep our doubts may go, we cannot escape His love. This is a promise that provides comfort in our darkest moments. God is with us, even when we feel unseen. His presence is not contingent upon our feelings, but is a steadfast truth. As we navigate these feelings of being forgotten, we must also guard against the lies of the enemy. He delights in sowing seeds of doubt and discouragement, whispering that God has forgotten us or that we are unworthy of His attention. It's crucial to combat these lies with the truth of God's word. Scripture is a weapon against the enemy's tactics. When we declare God's promises over our lives, we remind ourselves of His faithfulness and goodness. Verses like Isaiah 49:15 remind us that God will never forget us. Even if a mother could forget her child, He will not forget us. Engaging with the Word of God strengthens our faith during these silent periods. As we immerse ourselves in Scripture, we begin to see His character and His faithfulness throughout history. The stories of those who felt forgotten, yet were used mightily by God, become a source of hope and inspiration. Think of Esther, who was placed in a position of influence for such a time as this, or of Ruth, who found redemption and purpose after experiencing loss and hardship. Their stories remind us that even in the depths of despair, God is at work, orchestrating a plan that we may not yet understand. Worship also plays a vital role in our response to feelings of abandonment. It shifts our focus from our circumstances to the greatness of God. When we worship, we acknowledge His sovereignty, His power, and His love. This act of surrendering our worries through worship allows the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with peace. As we lift our voices in praise, we find our spirits lifted as well. Worship becomes a powerful declaration that we trust Him, even when we can't see the way forward. In our spiritual journey, we must embrace the tension of the already and the not yet. While we have the promise of God's presence, we also live in a world filled with pain and uncertainty. It's easy to become disheartened when our expectations don't align with reality. However, embracing this tension allows us to grow in faith. We learn to hold on to hope, even when circumstances seem bleak. The not yet can be a time of preparation, a season where God is working behind the scenes to bring about His purpose. God often uses the times we feel forgotten as a catalyst for transformation. As we process our feelings, we have an opportunity to examine our hearts and motives. Are we seeking God for what He can give us, or for who He is? Are we more concerned with our circumstances than with our relationship with Him? These questions lead us to a place of introspection where we can align our desires with His will. It's a moment of refining, where we are shaped into vessels for His glory. In the silence, we may also discover our true calling. Often we look for clarity in the noise of our lives, thinking that the answer will come through busyness or achievement. However, God sometimes leads us to stillness, where we can hear His voice clearly. It's in these quiet moments that He reveals our purpose and the unique gifts He has placed within us. We begin to understand that our identity is not found in what we do, but in who we are in Christ. As we learn to trust God during these seasons, we become more resilient. Each time we face feelings of abandonment and choose to believe in His goodness, our faith grows. We move from a place of uncertainty to one of confidence, understanding that He is always working for our good. This resilience is a powerful testimony to those around us as we reflect the hope and peace that can only come from knowing Him. The journey of faith is not about the absence of trials, but how we navigate them. In the face of feeling forgotten, we can choose to see God's hand at work. We can find comfort in knowing that He is molding us, preparing us for a future filled with hope. When we emerge from these periods of silence, we will find ourselves transformed, equipped to face whatever lies ahead. As we continue on this journey, it's vital to cultivate a posture of gratitude. Thankfulness shifts our focus from what we lack to the abundant blessings in our lives. Even in the silence, we can find reasons to be grateful. Each day is a gift, and each moment spent in His presence is a treasure. By choosing gratitude, we break the chains of despair and open ourselves to the joy that comes from recognizing God's goodness in every situation. In times of waiting, it's also essential to remember the importance of perseverance. James 1:2-4 encourages us to count it all joy when we face trials, because they produce perseverance. Perseverance leads to maturity and completeness, making us lacking in nothing. When we view our struggles through this lens, we realize they are not merely obstacles but stepping stones toward growth. Each challenge we face is an opportunity to build resilience, character, and a deeper faith in God. Our testimonies are often birthed in these silent seasons. The struggles we face today become the stories of God's faithfulness tomorrow. When we share our experiences of feeling forgotten yet finding hope in God's promises, we encourage others who may be walking a similar path. Our stories resonate with those who are struggling, offering them a glimpse of light in their darkness. The beauty of God's love is that it does not waver based on our circumstances. Even when we feel abandoned, His love is unwavering and unconditional. It's important to remember that God sees you, knows you, and loves you deeply. His thoughts toward you are countless and filled with good. When we embrace this truth, we can face our struggles with courage, knowing we are never truly forgotten. As we navigate the journey of faith, we must also be intentional about listening for His voice. In the silence, God often speaks in gentle whispers, guiding us and revealing His heart. It requires stillness and a willingness to hear His direction. This might mean setting aside time each day for quiet reflection and prayer, allowing space for Him to communicate with us. In these moments of listening, we may find clarity regarding our next steps. God will illuminate the path forward, showing us what we need to do to align our lives with His will. As we grow in discernment, we become more attuned to His leading, which equips us to navigate life's challenges with grace and wisdom. The silence, while uncomfortable, becomes a transformative experience. As we embrace it, we find that we are drawn closer to God. Our relationship deepens as we learn to trust Him more fully. We begin to see that the waiting is not wasted but is a crucial part of our spiritual journey. In time, we will understand that these moments of feeling forgotten are merely part of a greater narrative, one in which God is intricately involved. Ultimately, our faith will be refined and strengthened. The trials we face become the very foundation upon which we build a relationship with God that is unshakable. When we emerge from these silent seasons, we will be equipped not only to handle our own struggles, but to minister to others who may feel forgotten. We will become vessels of hope, reminding others that even in their darkest moments, God is with them. As we conclude this journey together, remember that even in the moments when you feel forgotten, God is intricately weaving His plans for your life. His timing is perfect, His love unwavering, and His blessings abundant. Embrace the waiting as a sacred opportunity for growth and deeper intimacy with Him. Trust that every moment spent in silence is preparing you for a glorious breakthrough. May you find peace in His presence and strength in His promises. Thank you for allowing me to share this message with you today. May God bless you richly, guide your steps, and fill your heart with hope as you continue to walk in faith, knowing that He is always with you. There are moments in life where everything seems to shatter, where every effort feels useless, and every step forward only deepens the weight on your shoulders. In these moments, the question that haunts us is often, why God? Why this pain? Why this hardship? But what if these struggles aren't meant to break you but to build you? What if, in the fires of your hardest battles, God is preparing you for something far beyond your imagination? Every tear, every sleepless night, and every heartbreak might hold within it a key, a divine purpose you never anticipated. Today we're diving deep into the ways God can use even your darkest moments to uncover the very reason He created you. Stay with me, because this journey just might change everything. When we face struggles, it's natural to want to escape. We look for solutions, quick fixes, or perhaps even distractions, anything to ease the discomfort. But God, in His infinite wisdom, often allows us to linger in our difficulties because He knows that within each challenge lies an invaluable lesson and the seeds of transformation. God isn't interested in temporary relief, He's focused on eternal purpose. And while we seek immediate answers, God seeks lasting change, the kind that shapes us from the inside out, preparing us for the call He's placed on our lives. God's preparation often involves discomfort, because it's in the discomfort that our true character is revealed. When life is easy, it's simple to declare our trust in God. But in moments of challenge, our true beliefs come to the surface. Faith, untested, is just a concept. It's only through the fire of struggle that faith is proven genuine. God allows these tests not because He doubts us, but because He wants us to recognize the strength He has already placed within us. Like a diamond, you are being shaped and polished under pressure so that His light can shine through you with brilliance. God's process of revealing your purpose often requires you to face situations that stretch you beyond your own strength. This is because our human nature clings to control, comfort, and predictability. But in the unknown, in the places where we cannot rely on our understanding, we are forced to lean on Him. It's there in the struggle that we encounter God in ways we never would have otherwise. He becomes more than just a name or a distant figure. He becomes our strength, our hope, our friend. And as we walk through the fire with Him, we discover aspects of our own purpose that were hidden from us before. One of the most powerful revelations that comes from our struggles is the understanding that our lives are not just for ourselves. God places dreams, visions, and missions in our hearts that reach beyond our own lives to impact others. Think of Joseph, who was sold into slavery, betrayed by his own brothers, and unjustly imprisoned. Each of those painful experiences was a stepping stone in God's divine plan to position him in a place of influence where he could save an entire nation from famine. Joseph's purpose wasn't just about him, it was about the people he would impact, the lives he would save. In the same way, your struggles may be preparing you to fulfill a purpose that will bless countless others. Struggles have a way of forcing us to confront our limitations, and that's exactly where God meets us. It's at the end of ourselves that we encounter the beginning of God's limitless power. As we surrender to Him, He fills the gaps that our human strength cannot bridge. He takes our broken pieces and in His love makes something beautiful out of them. God's grace is more than sufficient, it's overflowing, ready to meet us at every low point. The very thing we think disqualifies us from purpose is often what God uses to reveal it. We must also understand that sometimes the purpose God has for us cannot be fulfilled without first breaking down our old ways of thinking, our old habits, and our old ways of relating to the world. Our struggles are often a process of unlearning, of letting go of the past so we can embrace the future. It's like the pruning of a plant. A gardener cuts away what seems healthy in order to promote greater growth. Similarly, God removes things in our lives that seem good on the surface but may hinder us from achieving the fullness of His purpose. Faith in the face of struggle is not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. Rather, it's about acknowledging the struggle, trusting God through it, and allowing Him to work in us and through us. God is less interested in a life of comfort than He is in a life of character. He uses struggles to cultivate qualities within us like patience, resilience, and compassion, all of which are essential for the mission He has designed for us. As we walk through trials, we also begin to see how God uses them to make us more sensitive to the struggles of others. We become compassionate, less judgmental, and more understanding. The pain we endure gives us a unique perspective and an ability to reach out to those who are going through similar experiences. God transforms our wounds into wisdom and our trials into testimonies, equipping us to be vessels of His love to a hurting world. In every trial, we have a choice. We can become bitter, or we can become better. We can complain, or we can trust. We can resist the process, or we can embrace it. But if we choose to trust, to lean on God, to surrender fully to His will, we will find that there is a purpose beyond the pain. God does not waste our struggles. He redeems every one of them, using them to shape us into the people He created us to be. So today, whatever you're going through, don't despise it. Don't fear it. Know that God is using it for a reason. It may not make sense now, and it may not feel comfortable, but there is a divine purpose at work. God is positioning you, preparing you, and equipping you for something extraordinary. And if you hold on, if you stay faithful, you will look back and see that the very struggles that once seemed unbearable were the keys that unlocked your true purpose. God's method of shaping us through struggles is something we see woven throughout Scripture. Take Moses, for example. Before he could lead the Israelites out of Egypt, he spent years in the wilderness, away from everything he once knew, humbled and removed from his former life of privilege. That period of struggle was God's preparation ground. In those quiet, lonely years, Moses learned humility, patience, and reliance on God, qualities that would later equip him to lead an entire nation through the wilderness. God knew that the wilderness was not only a test but also a classroom, a place where Moses would be shaped and refined for his divine assignment. Similarly, the struggles we go through are not random. They are orchestrated by God to prepare us for a destiny that often reaches beyond what we can envision. It's important to understand that purpose is not always revealed instantly. Sometimes it takes years of experiencing hardship before we realize why God allowed certain things to happen. We often want immediate answers, but God is more interested in the process than the destination. He knows that what we learn in the journey prepares us to handle the blessings and responsibilities at the end. The struggles are like stepping stones, each one designed to bring us closer to the person He created us to be. Every hardship we face is like a brushstroke on a canvas, part of a much larger picture that only God can see. The purpose of our lives is not something we find, it's something we become. Through our struggles, we don't just discover our purpose, we are shaped into it. God's intention is not to give us an easy path, but to mold us into vessels capable of fulfilling His plans. Each trial we face chisels away at the rough edges of our character, revealing the masterpiece that God has envisioned all along. Just as a sculptor chips away at a block of marble to reveal the beauty within, God uses our trials to uncover the potential within us that we often can't see ourselves. What seems like hardship to us is, in fact, the precision work of a creator who sees us as his masterpieces. Consider King David, a shepherd boy who became Israel's greatest king. David's journey to the throne was filled with hardships. He faced rejection, betrayal, and years of running from King Saul, who sought to kill him. Yet, in those years of struggle, David developed a close relationship with God, a depth of faith, and a resilience that equipped him to lead with wisdom and compassion. David's time in the wilderness was not a detour, it was a divine preparation. God was using David's struggles to build in him the qualities of a king. Without the hardship, David might never have become the leader God intended him to be. The trials prepared him, giving him the heart of a shepherd and the courage of a warrior. When we look back on our own lives, we often see that the struggles we faced led us to the greatest revelations about who we are and what we are called to do. Moments of despair have a way of bringing us to a place of surrender where we stop relying on our own strength and start depending on God. It's in those moments of surrender that we find clarity, as if God has been waiting for us to finally let go so He can reveal the next step. Our struggles strip us of pride, self-reliance, and even fear, leaving us open to the voice of God. And it's often in the stillness after the storm that we hear His call more clearly than ever. God's process of revealing purpose through struggle also requires a willingness to trust Him even when we don't understand. Faith is not merely believing when things are going well, it's trusting in the unseen, holding on to hope when there seems to be none. It's easy to have faith when life is smooth, but true faith is refined in the fire of hardship. Just as steel is forged in intense heat, our faith is strengthened and purified through trials. God uses these moments to deepen our trust, to stretch our spiritual muscles, and to prepare us for the responsibilities that come with fulfilling our purpose. As believers, we must also recognize that struggles are not always about us alone. Sometimes God allows us to go through difficult situations so that we can comfort others who will one day walk the same path. The struggles we endure give us empathy, compassion, and insight, enabling us to be a source of encouragement and hope for others. God often calls us to minister to people who have faced similar challenges, using our own experiences as a testimony of His faithfulness. Through our pain, we become vessels of His healing, carrying the message that there is hope, redemption, and purpose even in the darkest valleys. In this way, our struggles are not wasted. Every tear, every setback, and every hardship has a purpose in God's grand design. He uses all things, even our suffering, for our good and His glory. This truth doesn't minimize our pain, but it gives it meaning. We come to understand that our lives are part of a story far greater than ourselves, a story in which God is constantly working, shaping, and molding us for His purposes. And when we surrender to His will, trusting that He knows best, we find peace even in the midst of the storm. We realize that every trial is a part of our preparation, each one designed to equip us for the unique calling God has placed on our lives. There is also a hidden strength that is revealed only through struggle. God knows that when we are pushed to our limits, we discover a resilience and a power within us that we never knew existed. Just as a muscle grows stronger through resistance, our spirit is fortified through hardship. God is not interested in making us comfortable, He is interested in making us strong. He is developing in us a strength that cannot be shaken, a faith that is unbreakable, and a resilience that can withstand the storms of life. This strength is not just for ourselves, but for the sake of those we are called to serve. Through every season of struggle, God is teaching us that our value is not determined by our circumstances, but by His love for us. We are His children, and He has a plan for each of us that goes beyond what we can see. When we realize that our identity is rooted in God's love, we are no longer swayed by the trials we face. Our foundation becomes solid, anchored in the truth that we are loved, chosen, and called for a purpose. And as we embrace this identity, we find the courage to face any challenge, knowing that we are held by a God who is greater than any obstacle. God's love for us is so great that He will not allow us to remain stagnant. He sees our potential, the gifts and abilities He has placed within us, and He wants to see us grow into the fullness of who we are meant to be. Sometimes this requires pruning, a painful but necessary process of removing anything in our lives that hinders our growth. Pruning may involve the loss of relationships, dreams, or even parts of ourselves that we have held onto tightly. But just as a gardener prunes a tree to promote new growth, God prunes us so that we may bear more fruit, so that our lives may reflect His glory. As we embrace the process, we begin to see that the struggles we face are not roadblocks, but stepping stones. They are opportunities for us to grow, to learn, and to draw closer to God. Each challenge we overcome brings us one step closer to fulfilling the destiny He has for us. Our faith grows stronger, our character is refined, and our trust in God deepens. We come to understand that the journey is just as important as the destination, because it is in the journey that we become the people God created us to be. Through struggle, God also reveals the depth of His grace. When we are at our lowest, feeling unworthy, broken, or defeated, His grace meets us there. He lifts us up, not because of our strength, but because of His love. Grace is not just a concept, it is a lifeline, a reminder that we are not alone. God's grace is sufficient for us, empowering us to rise above our circumstances and to walk in victory. We realize that our strength comes not from ourselves, but from the one who holds us in His hands. Our struggles are a testament to God's faithfulness. They are reminders that no matter what we face, God is with us, guiding us, strengthening us, and leading us toward our purpose. Each struggle we overcome becomes a stone in the foundation of our faith, a reminder of His goodness and mercy. We are able to look back and see how He has been with us every step of the way, turning our pain into purpose, our trials into triumphs. Each season of hardship is a training ground, preparing us for the very calling that God has placed on our lives. The truth is, God never wastes a struggle. Every moment of pain, confusion, and waiting has a divine purpose behind it. God is not only aware of our struggles, He's intentional about them. He uses these times to teach us lessons that we could not learn in comfort, to develop strengths in us that would remain dormant without adversity. Through these trials, we come to understand that we're not just enduring hardships for the sake of survival, we're being shaped into people who can impact others, who can carry hope, and who can bring light into the darkest of situations. As believers, we sometimes mistake our hardships as signs that we're on the wrong path or that we're being punished. But Scripture is full of examples where God's greatest work in people's lives happened during their hardest struggles. Think of Job, a man described as blameless and upright, who lost everything: his wealth, his children, his health. Yet in the midst of unimaginable loss, Job's faith did not waver. God allowed Job to go through this season not because He had abandoned him, but because He trusted Job's faith. The testing of Job's faith was not only a demonstration of his integrity, it was a testimony for generations to come. Job's struggle became a story of resilience, faith, and restoration, showing us that even in our darkest times, God is sovereign, and His purposes cannot be thwarted. In our own lives, when we find ourselves in seasons of difficulty, we often ask, "Why me?" But perhaps the better question is, "God, what are you preparing me for?" God sees the bigger picture that we cannot see. He knows the doors He will open, the people He will bring into our lives, and the moments where we will need the very strength we are building in our current struggles. God doesn't merely prepare a path for us, He prepares us for the path. And sometimes this preparation involves walking through valleys that test our endurance, valleys that push us to rely on Him in ways we never thought we would need to. It's in these valleys that we realize how deep God's love and commitment to us truly are, and how He will never leave us nor forsake us, no matter how difficult the journey may become. One of the profound truths about struggle is that it brings us to the end of ourselves. It strips away our illusions of control, our self-reliance, and even our pride. It is in this vulnerable state that we become most receptive to God's voice, most willing to surrender to His will. In our weakest moments, God's strength is made perfect. When we come to the end of ourselves, we find the beginning of God's power working within us. We learn that our worth is not based on our achievements, our possessions, or our status, but on the fact that we are loved by God. This revelation frees us from the need to prove ourselves to others, allowing us to rest in the assurance of His love. We begin to walk in a new level of confidence, knowing that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by the one who created us and called us according to His purpose. Struggles also reveal what we truly believe about God. When life is smooth, it's easy to declare that we trust in God's goodness and faithfulness. But when we face setbacks, disappointments, and unanswered prayers, our faith is put to the test. Do we still believe that God is good when our plans fall apart? Do we still trust Him when we don't understand His ways? In these moments, we are forced to confront our beliefs, to wrestle with our doubts, and to make a choice to trust God even when it doesn't make sense. This process deepens our relationship with Him, building a faith that is resilient and unshakable. We come to know God not just as our provider, but as our sustainer, not just as our healer, but as our comforter. Through our struggles, we experience God in ways that are intimate, personal, and transformative. Moreover, God often uses our pain as a platform for purpose. The very thing that once brought us to our knees becomes the message of hope we share with others. Our scars tell a story of God's faithfulness, His redemption, and His power to heal. When we open up about our struggles, we allow others to see that they are not alone, that there is hope even in the darkest times. God redeems our pain by using it as a testimony to encourage and uplift others. This is how He turns our trials into triumphs, using what the enemy meant for harm to bring about good. Our struggles become a testament to the fact that God can take the broken pieces of our lives and create something beautiful, something meaningful, something that points others to Him. Sometimes the hardest part of our struggle is the waiting. We live in a world that values instant results, but God's timing is perfect, and He often asks us to wait so that we can learn patience, trust, and dependence on Him. Waiting is not wasted time, it is a period of growth and preparation. Just as a seed must be buried in the soil and wait before it can grow, we too must go through seasons where we are hidden, where it seems like nothing is happening. But in those hidden places, God is at work, strengthening our roots, building our foundation, and preparing us for the fruit that will come in His time. Waiting teaches us to rely on God's timing rather than our own, reminding us that He is in control and that His plans are far better than anything we could ever imagine. In this period of waiting, God often calls us to act in faith, even when we can't see the outcome. He calls us to be obedient, to take steps forward, trusting that He will make a way where there seems to be none. It is in these moments of faith-filled action that we experience breakthroughs. Faith is not just believing, it is stepping out, even when we don't know what lies ahead. It is trusting that God has already gone before us, that He is guiding our every step, and that He will provide what we need in His perfect timing. As we walk in faith, we build spiritual muscles that prepare us for greater challenges and opportunities. God is teaching us to rely on His strength, His wisdom, and His provision, knowing that He is faithful to fulfill His promises. As we continue on this journey, we also begin to realize that our purpose is not about us, it is about glorifying God and serving others. God has placed gifts, talents, and abilities within each of us, not for our own benefit, but for the purpose of advancing His kingdom. Our struggles refine these gifts, teaching us humility, empathy, and a servant's heart. We come to understand that our calling is not about seeking personal success, but about impacting the lives of those around us. God uses our struggles to break down our selfish ambitions and to cultivate a heart that is focused on others. In the process, we find that true fulfillment comes not from achieving our own goals, but from aligning our lives with God's purposes and serving those He has placed in our path. Through every challenge, we learn that our purpose is not just a destination, it is a journey of becoming more like Christ. Each trial, each setback, each hardship is an opportunity to grow in character, to deepen our faith, and to draw closer to God. We come to understand that our purpose is not something we achieve, but something we live out daily as we seek to honor God in all that we do. Our lives become a reflection of His love, His grace, and His power, pointing others to the hope we have found in Him. As we walk in our purpose, we become vessels through which God's love and truth are poured out into a world in need. In this journey, we will face obstacles, moments of doubt, and times when we feel like giving up. But as we hold on to God's promises, as we press forward in faith, we discover a strength that comes from Him alone. We realize that our purpose is not dependent on our circumstances, but on our willingness to trust God and to follow where He leads. And in this we find peace, knowing that we are exactly where we are meant to be, that our lives are in the hands of a loving, faithful, and sovereign God. God uses every struggle, every trial, every moment of waiting to shape us, to refine us, and to prepare us for the purpose He has set before us. Our journey is not without pain, but it is filled with the promise that God is with us, that He is working all things for our good, and that He is leading us toward a future filled with hope, purpose, and fulfillment in Him. Our understanding of purpose deepens as we face the reality of our struggles. Many people think that discovering their purpose is an isolated moment of clarity, a sudden revelation that propels them into their destiny. However, it's often a gradual unfolding, a process that reveals itself through life experiences. Every struggle acts like a puzzle piece, contributing to a larger picture that is only visible from God's perspective. We must remember that what we see as setbacks can be the very things God uses to guide us to our true calling. Consider the story of Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused and imprisoned. From a human standpoint, his life seemed to take one unfortunate turn after another. Yet through each experience, God was shaping Joseph into the leader he would ultimately become. The struggles he endured in Potiphar's house, the betrayal of his brothers, and the years spent in prison were not in vain. Each moment was preparing him for the moment he would stand before Pharaoh, interpret his dreams, and ultimately save nations from famine. Joseph's story teaches us that even the darkest days can lead to the brightest destinies. When we view our struggles through the lens of faith, we recognize that they are part of a divine strategy. Struggles can also refine our character, teaching us the virtues of patience, perseverance, and resilience. When we face challenges, we often encounter our weaknesses, our fears, and our insecurities. These moments can be humbling and painful, but they also offer us the chance to grow. We learn to rely not on our strength, but on God's power. In moments of vulnerability, we are reminded that our worth is not in what we accomplish, but in who we are as children of God. Our identity is rooted in His love, and our value is inherent because we are created in His image. This realization allows us to embrace our struggles as part of our journey, understanding that they serve a greater purpose. As we navigate the path of life, we also come to appreciate the importance of community. The struggles we face often connect us with others who are experiencing similar challenges. These shared experiences can foster deep relationships built on empathy, understanding, and support. When we open up about our struggles, we create opportunities for others to share their stories as well. Together we can encourage one another, pray for one another, and walk alongside each other as we navigate the difficulties of life. This is how God uses our struggles not just for our own growth, but for the benefit of others. I think of Paul, who faced immense persecution and hardship throughout his ministry. Despite being imprisoned, beaten, and ridiculed, he remained steadfast in his mission to spread the gospel. His letters to the early churches are filled with encouragement and hope, demonstrating how he used his struggles to strengthen the faith of others. Paul understood that his suffering was not in vain, it was an opportunity to glorify God and to share the message of Christ. He recognized that in his weakness, God's strength was made perfect. Our struggles can also serve as a powerful testament to God's faithfulness. When we endure trials and emerge stronger on the other side, we become living testimonies of God's goodness. Our stories of perseverance can inspire others to trust in God during their own challenges. Just as we learn from the struggles of biblical figures, our lives can serve as a source of hope for those around us. We can share how God provided for us, how He comforted us, and how He guided us through the storm. These testimonies become powerful tools for evangelism, demonstrating that God is alive and working in the lives of His people. As we walk this journey of faith, it's important to remain focused on the eternal perspective. The struggles we face may feel overwhelming at times, but they are temporary. Our earthly experiences are just a small part of our existence. We are called to live with our eyes set on eternity. This perspective changes how we view our difficulties. Rather than seeing them as obstacles, we begin to recognize them as opportunities to grow in faith and character. We learn to hold on to the promises of God, knowing that He is working all things for our good and His glory. In times of trouble, we can find comfort in knowing that God is present. He walks with us through every valley, every storm, and every challenge. He promises to never leave us nor forsake us, reminding us that we are not alone. When we feel overwhelmed, we can turn to His word for strength and encouragement. Scripture is filled with promises that assure us of God's presence in our lives. When we cling to these truths, we find the courage to face our struggles head-on. We learn to pray fervently, seeking God's guidance and comfort in our times of need. Through prayer, we deepen our relationship with Him, and our understanding of His purpose in our lives becomes clearer. As we grow in faith, we begin to see our struggles in a new light. Rather than viewing them as burdens, we can start to see them as gifts. Each challenge presents an opportunity to learn something new, to grow in character, and to draw closer to God. We start to recognize that the trials we face are not punishments, but are part of God's refining process. He is purifying us, removing the impurities from our lives, and shaping us into the people He has called us to be. This transformation is a lifelong journey, and we must be willing to embrace every step of it, trusting that God is at work in us. Moreover, our struggles can cultivate a deeper compassion for others. When we walk through difficulties, we gain a better understanding of the pain others experience. We become more empathetic, more willing to listen, and more ready to offer help. Our own experiences of struggle can ignite a passion within us to serve those who are suffering. We become vessels of God's love and grace, reaching out to those who need support. This is how God uses our struggles to create a community of believers who uplift one another, showing the world the love of Christ through our actions. As we continue this journey, we must also be aware of the enemy's tactics. Satan wants to use our struggles to sow seeds of doubt and discouragement. He whispers lies that we are not good enough, that our pain is pointless, and that God has abandoned us. But we must stand firm against these lies, armed with the truth of God's word. We can counter the enemy's attacks by reminding ourselves of the promises of God. We are beloved children of God, created with purpose and equipped to overcome every challenge we face. When we ground ourselves in God's truth, we can resist the enemy's lies and walk confidently in our purpose. In the midst of struggles, we must also remember to celebrate victories, no matter how small. Every step forward, every lesson learned, and every moment of growth is a testament to God's faithfulness. By acknowledging these victories, we reinforce our faith and build our confidence in God's plan. Celebrating our progress encourages us to keep moving forward, even when the road gets tough. It reminds us that God is at work, and that our struggles are producing fruit in our lives. As we navigate our struggles, let us also look for ways to serve others. When we shift our focus from our own difficulties to the needs of those around us, we begin to see our struggles in a new light. Helping others allows us to find purpose in our pain, as we share the comfort and hope we have received from God. Our struggles become a platform for ministry, enabling us to make a difference in the lives of others. We must embrace vulnerability. Sharing our struggles with others can be daunting, but it opens the door for connection and healing. When we are honest about our challenges, we create an environment where others feel safe to share their own struggles. This mutual sharing fosters community and encourages us to lean on one another for support. Understanding how God uses our struggles to reveal our true purpose is a journey that requires faith, perseverance, and openness. We must embrace the process, trusting that God is at work in every aspect of our lives. Every struggle is an opportunity for growth, every hardship a chance to draw closer to God, and every challenge a step toward fulfilling our God-given purpose. As we continue to walk this path, may we remain steadfast in faith, open to the lessons God wants to teach us, and willing to embrace the fullness of the life He has called us to live. Let us remember that our struggles are not in vain, they are purposeful, intentional, and a vital part of our journey toward discovering our true purpose in Him. As we continue along this path of struggle, it becomes clear that each challenge invites us into a deeper level of trust with God. Trust is not a simple task, it is an active choice we must make, even when it feels counterintuitive. Often we want assurance, proof, and clarity, yet God invites us to lean into Him, even when we do not understand. This requires faith beyond what we can see, a faith that does not rely on the circumstances, but on the certainty of who God is. And as we surrender to this trust, we find that our perspective changes. We stop asking, why is this happening, and begin to ask, what are you trying to teach me through this, Lord? Our struggles also refine our sense of gratitude. When we face hardships, we become more aware of the blessings we may have previously taken for granted. We begin to value the simple things, the peace of a quiet moment, the joy of a small victory, or the warmth of a friend's encouragement. Gratitude becomes a powerful anchor that holds us steady in the midst of life's storms. By focusing on what we have rather than what we lack, we strengthen our faith and remind ourselves that God has already provided in countless ways. Gratitude does not negate our struggles, but it shifts our focus from what is difficult to what is divine. Furthermore, struggles push us into a space of spiritual maturity, where we no longer seek instant solutions, but rather a deeper connection with God. Through prolonged challenges, we come to realize that faith is not a quick fix. Instead, it's a journey of patience where we learn to rely on God's timing rather than our own. Spiritual maturity teaches us that delays are not denials. Sometimes God keeps us in certain situations to prepare us for something greater, something beyond what we could ask or imagine. In these waiting seasons, we develop endurance, resilience, and wisdom. Our character is fortified and our vision becomes clearer as we learn to trust the process. In every struggle, we also learn humility. Life's hardships have a way of humbling us, of stripping away our illusions of control and reminding us of our dependence on God. Humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, it's about recognizing our need for God in every aspect of our lives. When we humble ourselves, we open the door to God's grace, for His strength is made perfect in our weakness. By acknowledging our limitations, we create space for God's power to work within us. Humility helps us to release pride, self-reliance, and stubbornness, allowing us to grow in ways we may not have thought possible. Through struggle, God also reveals the depths of His love. It's easy to feel loved when life is going smoothly, but in moments of pain, we may wonder if God has abandoned us. Yet it is often in these moments that God's love becomes most evident. We find that He is closest when we are at our lowest, that His presence is most tangible when we feel the most alone. The love of God is steadfast, unwavering, and unconditional. As we experience this love in the midst of struggle, we come to realize that nothing can separate us from it, not our mistakes, not our doubts, not even our darkest hours. His love is a constant, a source of comfort and strength that sustains us through every trial. Struggles also give us a deeper understanding of forgiveness. In our pain, we are often confronted with those who have hurt us, intentionally or unintentionally. We are faced with the choice to hold on to resentment or to forgive, just as God has forgiven us. Forgiveness is not easy. It requires us to let go of our right to hold on to pain. Yet it is a liberating act that frees us from the burden of bitterness. Through forgiveness, we experience healing, and we allow God's peace to fill our hearts. Just as God's mercy is new every morning, we are called to extend that same mercy to others, even when it is difficult. In times of struggle, we also learn the value of obedience. Often, God calls us to take steps of faith that may seem uncomfortable or even impossible. Obedience requires us to trust His voice above our own reasoning, to follow His lead even when the path is unclear. This is not blind obedience, it is a choice to align our will with His, to surrender our plans for His purpose. As we obey, we discover that God's ways are higher than our ways, that His plans are indeed for our welfare and not for our harm. Obedience unlocks blessings that we may not understand in the moment, but will ultimately reveal themselves in time. Through every struggle, we are reminded of the importance of hope. Hope is the anchor of our soul, the light that guides us through the darkest nights. Hope is not just wishful thinking, it is the confident expectation that God is who He says He is, and that He will fulfill His promises. Hope keeps us moving forward, even when we can't see the end of the tunnel. It is hope that fuels our prayers, that keeps us seeking God, that reminds us that there is more to come. With hope we can face tomorrow, trusting that God's plan for us is good, that He has a future and a hope for us. Struggles also awaken us to the power of prayer. When we are faced with challenges, we often realize that we cannot rely on our own strength. In these moments, prayer becomes our lifeline, our direct connection to God. Prayer is not just about asking for solutions, it's about building a relationship with our Creator. Through prayer, we pour out our hearts to God, we seek His guidance, we ask for His strength. Prayer aligns our hearts with His will, giving us peace and clarity in the midst of confusion. In times of struggle, prayer reminds us that we are not alone, that we have a Heavenly Father who listens, who cares, and who intervenes on our behalf. As we walk through the valleys of life, we come to appreciate the joy of God's presence. Struggles often force us to slow down, to pause, to reflect. In these quiet moments, we find that God's presence is more than enough. He is our comforter, our healer, our source of joy. We begin to realize that joy is not found in our circumstances, but in our relationship with God. This joy is a gift, a fruit of the Spirit that sustains us even in the most challenging times. When we embrace the joy of the Lord, we find strength, we find peace, we find the resilience to keep moving forward. Finally, struggles give us a story. Our lives are not just about the good times, the successes, and the victories. They are also about the trials we have overcome. Every struggle we face becomes part of our testimony, a testament to God's faithfulness and grace. Our stories are powerful. They have the ability to encourage, to inspire, to bring hope to others. When we share our experiences, we allow others to see the goodness of God, to witness the miracles He has performed in our lives. Our struggles become a beacon of hope for those who are facing similar challenges, a reminder that if God was faithful to us, He will be faithful to them as well. In this journey, let us embrace our struggles as opportunities for growth, for transformation, and for a deeper relationship with God. Each challenge we face brings us one step closer to becoming the people God has created us to be. And as we continue to walk in faith, may we trust that God is using every part of our journey, the highs, the lows, the victories, and the struggles to reveal His purpose for our lives. In conclusion, our struggles are not mere obstacles, but divine tools God uses to shape and reveal our true purpose. Every challenge, every heartache, every disappointment has a purpose in His plan for our lives. It's in the midst of our pain that we discover our strength, in the depths of our trials that we learn resilience, and in the quiet of our waiting that we come to know God more intimately. When we surrender our hardships to Him, we allow Him to mold us, teach us, and prepare us for the calling He has placed on our lives. God's purpose for us is not just to survive our struggles, but to rise above them with a renewed faith, a stronger character, and a deeper love for Him and for others. Let us remember that we are never alone in our trials. He is with us, guiding us, strengthening us, and loving us through it all. As we walk this path, may we embrace our journey with courage, trust in His perfect timing, and hold on to the unshakable hope that every struggle we endure is drawing us closer to the life He has destined for us. Imagine the profound power within you, a force so incredible that it could bring your every desire to life. The words I am contain a sacred magic, a direct line to the Creator, an affirmation that you are one with divine energy, fully capable of manifesting all that you wish. When you declare I am, you are not merely identifying yourself, you are invoking the essence of creation itself. It is through this realization that you align with the divine, embracing the true power that exists within. When you ask I am for anything in life, understand that it begins with absolute conviction. Desire alone is not enough, it must be married to belief. Just as the seed must believe in its ability to grow into a tree, you must believe in your power to manifest. The process starts within your mind, where every thought, every vision, every declaration shapes your reality. By speaking I am followed by what you seek, you are already in possession of it. Say, I am prosperous, I am healed, I am loved, and know that this act of claiming is the first step toward bringing these things into your experience. Visualize the outcome you want, but don't hold on to it with desperation. Instead, immerse yourself in the feeling of already having it. See it as if it is already done. Picture the joy, the relief, the satisfaction that comes with receiving it, and linger in that feeling. Feel it in your heart. Let it settle into every fiber of your being. This is not daydreaming, it is a deliberate creation. Your emotions, your feelings are the secret language of I am, the powerful signal that speaks directly to the divine source. By embodying that feeling, you invite it into your reality, letting your inner world unfold outwardly. Faith, unwavering and quiet, becomes the pillar that supports your ask. It's one thing to declare I am, and quite another to hold steady when nothing around you seems to support it. Resist the urge to seek validation from your current circumstances. They are but reflections of past beliefs and actions. Trust instead in the vision within, that pure, undisturbed image of your desire already fulfilled. I am works in ways beyond our understanding, and it requires patience as it rearranges your reality. In asking I am for anything, let go of attachment to how it will arrive. Divine timing is not ours to command. Know that the ways of the Creator are intricate and wise, and often what may seem like a delay is simply a preparation for a greater blessing. Release the need to force or control. Let your ask rest in faith and gratitude. Embrace the assurance that I am is already at work, shaping the reality you desire. The more you trust, the more seamlessly your reality will begin to shift to meet your vision. Gratitude holds a powerful role in this journey. It transforms your spirit, lifting you into a higher vibration that matches what you seek. Before your desire appears, feel gratitude as if it has already arrived. When you are thankful in advance, you are aligning yourself with the essence of abundance, paving the way for it to flow effortlessly into your life. I am grateful is a statement that not only acknowledges the manifestation of your desire, but also affirms that you are worthy of receiving it. Hold yourself in a state of expectancy, but without urgency. Expectation attracts, while urgency repels. When you expect, you signal to the universe that you trust the process, that you are certain of the outcome. Every time doubt or worry arises, return to the declaration of I am, reaffirming your unity with the divine source. This steadiness, this quiet confidence, becomes the magnet drawing your desire into the visible world. In this journey of asking I am to receive anything you want, remember that you are not just a passive recipient, you are a co-creator. Each moment you spend in alignment with your desire, each thought you guide back to faith, and each time you return to the feeling of having it, you are actively shaping your reality. You become one with the power that creates worlds, embracing the infinite potential within. The mystery of I am lies in its profound simplicity. When you fully embrace it, I am becomes more than just a phrase. It becomes your reality, a declaration to the universe, a command that resounds through creation. Your words have the power to shape the formless. They are your bridge to the unseen, to everything that lies just beyond the veil of your physical senses. With every breath, with every thought, you are asking. You are declaring. You are bringing forth what lies hidden in your heart. To say I am is to call upon the divine essence within you, to know that every power of creation is already in your grasp. When you ask through I am, it is not a mere wish or a faint hope, it is a profound knowing. You are not simply asking for something to change, you are embodying the change. Let's say you desire peace. It's not enough to wish for peace to come. You must claim I am peace and let the stillness settle within you, feeling the tranquility as if it already fills every part of your being. You must act, think, and breathe as though peace is already your natural state. This inner transformation signals to the divine that you are in harmony with the peace you seek. You become a magnet for peace, effortlessly drawing it to yourself because you are embodying it already. This act of embodying does not stop with peace, it applies to every desire. Whether it's love, abundance, health, or success, the same principle holds true. If you say, I am abundant, then let abundance reflect in every aspect of your life. Begin with gratitude for what you already possess, however small it may seem. Appreciate every blessing and act from a place of generosity and fullness. The abundance you feel within will radiate outwardly, drawing more to you because you are already vibrating at the frequency of abundance. The universe responds to this energy, seeing not a need, but a fulfilled being ready to receive even more. Many people ask, but few truly believe. They say the words, but lack the conviction. To ask I am, and then doubt, to look for proof in the outer world, is to weaken the very force that creates. Faith does not waver, it does not falter. It is a quiet assurance that persists, even in the face of apparent lack. To truly ask I am means to set aside any reliance on appearances and instead look within, where all creation begins. The physical world is but a shadow of the inner realm. By focusing on the unseen, on the truth of I am, you are focusing on the source of power rather than its temporary expressions. In every thought, in every spoken word, you are planting seeds. These seeds, watered by belief and emotion, grow into the experiences that shape your life. Consider the significance of each thought you hold. Are they aligned with your desires, or do they contradict what you truly want? The mind is a fertile ground, always ready to bring forth whatever you plant within it. If you are planting seeds of doubt, fear, or unworthiness, the soil will respond in kind. But when you consciously plant seeds of joy, love, and faith, you align yourself with the divine order, allowing life to unfold in harmony with your highest vision. Your imagination plays a critical role in this process. It is a tool, a direct link to the divine creative process. Through imagination, you access a world without limits, a world where anything you can conceive is possible. When you see yourself as you wish to be, feel it as though it is real. Your imagination must be vivid and clear, filled with all the sensory details of the experience you desire. Imagine it so completely that it feels more real than the outer world. In that moment, you are not just picturing something, you are stepping into a parallel reality, a state of being where what you desire already exists. This act of vividly imagining is an essential part of asking I am, because it is the blueprint from which the divine crafts your experience. Action, too, has its place in this process. But understand the action must flow naturally from the inner state. It is not about forcing or striving, it is about moving in harmony with what you have already declared. If you have said, I am successful, then let your actions mirror that success. Conduct yourself with confidence, make decisions as someone who is already aligned with their goals. When you act from this place of alignment, your actions become effortless, guided by a sense of knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. There is no hesitation, no doubt, only a smooth flow of events that reflects the truth of your inner state. This path requires dedication. It is not a one-time declaration, but a continual practice of living in the presence of I am each day. Reaffirm your truth. In moments of doubt, remind yourself of the creative power that flows through you. Let each thought, each word, each action be a reflection of the reality you are creating. This is the mastery of asking through I am, not through a pleading or a hoping, but through a deep, unwavering knowing. And remember, this is not simply about gaining things. It is about becoming. In asking I am for anything, you are really asking to become the person who already possesses it. This journey transforms you, aligning you more closely with the divine essence within. It is an elevation of spirit, a rise into the highest version of yourself. Every desire is, at its core, a call to become more, to grow, to evolve. By embracing the power of I am, you are answering this call, stepping into the fullness of who you truly are. The world around you will change, often in ways you cannot predict. People, events, circumstances will shift to match the truth of your inner being. Trust this process, even when it seems mysterious or uncertain. The divine works in ways that often defy logic, crafting paths that are hidden to our limited perspective. Rest in the assurance that every element of the universe is conspiring to bring your desires into reality. Each obstacle, each delay, each unexpected turn is part of a grand design, weaving together to manifest the vision you hold within. When you look around, see beyond what is visible. Know that everything you see began as an I am. The mountains, the rivers, the stars themselves are expressions of that sacred power, brought forth by the words I am spoken by the divine. You are part of this same creation, woven from the same divine essence. As you ask I am for your desires, remember that you are asking from this place of unity with the Creator. There is no separation, no barrier. What you seek is already yours, for you are one with the source of all. Embrace the quiet strength that comes with this realization. There is no need to seek approval, to explain, or to justify your desires. Simply know, deeply and profoundly, that you are worthy of all that you ask. You are a vessel of divine possibility, a spark of infinite potential, carrying within you the same power that created the heavens and the earth. In this awareness, asking I am becomes not a request, but a celebration, a joyful declaration of your oneness with the boundless abundance of the universe. Each day renew your faith. Practice aligning your mind, heart, and spirit with your desires. Allow the truth of I am to guide your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. The journey may not always be easy, but it will be transformative. In every moment you have the choice to believe, to hold steady, to let go of doubt and embrace your divine identity. Let I am be your anchor, your compass, your guide, drawing you ever closer to the fulfillment of your highest aspirations. The power of I am is the gift of creation itself, a divine legacy passed down through the ages. As you walk this path, remember that you are not alone. All of creation supports you, echoing back the truth of your declarations. The trees, the rivers, the stars all resonate with the power of I am. Embrace this power with humility and gratitude, for it is a sacred trust. Use it to bring forth love, joy, peace, and abundance, not only for yourself, but for all those who share this world with you. Every moment you live with the awareness of I am is a moment where you bridge the gap between desire and manifestation. There is no distance too great, no dream too vast for the power that lies within you. To declare I am is to dissolve barriers, to release limitations, to embrace a reality where all things are possible. When you say I am, the universe listens. It is drawn to this statement with undeniable force, responding to the energy, the faith, the certainty that emanates from within you. This is the secret of creation, a truth that exists beyond words, beyond thought, beyond even the material world itself. When you focus on I am, you are, in essence, setting a compass for your life. This compass does not rely on the outer conditions, it finds its true north within. To say I am, and to believe it is like setting a course that cuts through the noise of the world, moving steadily, unwaveringly, toward your vision. The winds may shift, the seas may rise, but nothing can sway the one who walks with I am as their guide. In each step, in each moment of alignment, you become more and more rooted in this powerful state, a state where your inner vision becomes stronger than any outer influence. Feel the depth of this truth as it takes root within you. Allow yourself to rest in the calm assurance that what you have claimed with I am is already making its way into your experience. When doubt tries to intrude, gently remind yourself of the immense power you hold. This power is not aggressive or forceful, it is a quiet, steadfast presence, unshakable and eternal. The more you anchor yourself in this presence, the less you will be swayed by fleeting emotions or temporary challenges. You will come to see these as part of the journey, but they will no longer define you, because you know your true identity rests in I am. Visualize yourself already living the life you desire. See it vividly, feel it completely. Imagine the details as if you are experiencing them right now. How does it feel to walk in abundance, in joy, in complete health and well-being? How does it feel to be loved, respected, valued? Allow these feelings to fill you from the inside out, to wash over you with warmth and certainty. This is the true act of creation, for when you feel it within, you set the stage for it to appear without. Your inner state becomes the mold from which your outer life is shaped. In this process, learn to honor the power of silence. There is great strength in stillness, in the quiet moments where you simply exist in the truth of I am. In these moments, there is no need for words, for explanations, or for questions. There is only the awareness of your unity with the divine, the deep, serene knowledge that you are exactly where you need to be, that all you seek is already within you. Embrace these moments of silence as a sacred communion, a time to renew, to realign, to remember the essence of who you are. Gratitude, too, plays a transformative role on this journey. It is through gratitude that you begin to see life as a series of blessings rather than a list of unmet desires. When you say I am grateful, you shift your perspective from lack to abundance, from need to fulfillment. Gratitude opens the heart, allowing you to receive even more of what you desire. It signals to the universe that you are in a state of harmony with all that is, that you recognize the blessings that already surround you. This shift in energy draws more blessings into your life, as if by some magnetic force that only gratitude can activate. Faith is your steady companion. It is the quiet voice that whispers all is well even in the midst of uncertainty. To walk with faith is to walk with confidence, trusting that every step you take is supported by the unseen. There is a divine intelligence that orchestrates the events of your life, a wisdom that knows the perfect time and the perfect way for every desire to manifest. Trust in this intelligence. Know that you do not have to force or control, that you need only to align yourself with the truth of I am, and let the rest unfold. As you ask I am for what you want, release any lingering fears about how it will come to pass. The how is not your responsibility, it is the domain of the divine. Your task is to maintain the vision, to hold it steady in your mind and heart, and to live as if it is already yours. Let go of any attachments to specific outcomes or timelines. Instead, adopt a mindset of joyful expectancy, knowing that what is meant for you will arrive in the perfect way at the perfect time. Trust that the divine has a plan far greater than anything you could devise on your own. The world will begin to shift in response to this unwavering faith. People, opportunities, and resources will appear as if by magic, drawn to the energy of I am that you project. You may find that doors open unexpectedly, that chance encounters bring new insights, that synchronicities guide you along the path toward your desire. This is not coincidence, it is the natural outcome of aligning with your true power. You have set a chain of events in motion, and the universe is responding to the clarity and conviction of your ask. Stay alert to these signs. They are gentle nudges from the divine, guiding you, reassuring you, reminding you that you are never alone. Even in moments when it seems nothing is happening, know that there is unseen activity beneath the surface, a divine orchestration unfolding on your behalf. Every moment of waiting, every delay, is part of this grand design, preparing you, refining you, shaping you into the person who is ready to receive all that you have asked for. Remember too that this journey is as much about self-discovery as it is about manifestation. Through this process, you are discovering the depths of your own soul, the boundless potential that resides within. Every ask, every vision, every declaration of I am is an invitation to become more of who you truly are. It is a journey of inner expansion, of stepping into a higher state of awareness, of realizing that you are not limited by circumstance or by the past. You are a divine being capable of creating a life that reflects the highest vision of yourself. The beauty of asking I am lies in its simplicity. There are no complex rituals, no elaborate steps. It is a process of pure belief, pure intention, pure connection with the divine. Each time you say I am, you reaffirm this connection, you reinforce this bond, you draw closer to the essence of your own divinity. You do not need to struggle or strain, for this power is yours by birthright. You need only to acknowledge it, to honor it, and to use it with wisdom and love. And as you continue on this path, you will find that your desires begin to evolve. What once seemed important may lose its appeal, while new dreams and aspirations take their place. This is a natural part of spiritual growth, an unfolding of your highest potential. Embrace these changes, for they are guiding you toward a deeper, more meaningful expression of who you are. The divine is leading you gently toward the life that is truly in harmony with your soul's purpose. The more you live in the awareness of I am, the more effortless life becomes. You no longer feel the need to chase or strive. Instead, you attract. You draw to yourself exactly what you need, exactly when you need it. This is the power of true alignment, a state where you are in perfect harmony with the flow of life. Challenges may still arise, but they no longer shake you, for you know that they are simply part of the journey, opportunities for growth and refinement. You remain anchored in the truth of I am, knowing that nothing can separate you from the divine power within. The journey of asking I am is, at its core, a journey of faith. Faith in the divine, faith in yourself, faith in the unseen forces that work tirelessly on your behalf. It is a journey of surrender, of letting go of control, and allowing life to unfold in its own perfect way. It is a journey of love, for in connecting with I am, you are connecting with the source of all love, all joy, all peace. This love flows through you into every word, every thought, every action, transforming not only your life but the lives of those around you. In this state, you become a beacon, a light that shines brightly, illuminating the path for others to follow. You embody the truth of I am, radiating confidence, peace, and joy. Others may see this transformation and wonder, sensing that there is something different about you, something powerful and unshakable. They may ask how you have come to live in such harmony, and in that moment you have the opportunity to share this profound truth. You can guide them toward their own power, helping them to realize the divine potential that lies within them, waiting to be awakened. This is the ultimate gift of IAM, not only to transform your own life, but to inspire others to do the same. When you live in the awareness of I Am, you are not just a receiver, you are a creator, a channel through which the divine flows into the world. You become a source of inspiration, a living testament to the power of faith, belief, and divine connection. Your life becomes a message, a beacon of hope, a reminder to others that they too have the power to create, to manifest, to live in harmony with their highest selves. And so, each day, renew your connection with I Am. Let it be the first thought that greets you in the morning, the last thought that settles in your mind before sleep. Let it guide your words, your actions, your interactions with others. Let it be the foundation upon which you build your life, a foundation that is strong, unwavering, and eternal. For in the end, I Am is more than just a statement. It is the key to unlocking your true self, the doorway to a life of infinite possibilities, a life lived in union with the divine. As you continue this journey with I Am, you begin to see life with a fresh perspective, one that transcends the limitations of mere logic and past conditioning. Life starts to feel less like a series of obstacles to overcome and more like an endless series of opportunities to express your divine power. With I Am as your anchor, every situation, no matter how challenging, becomes a chance to align more deeply with your true self. The trials and tribulations lose their weight because you no longer see them as barriers but as stepping stones that lead to a higher understanding of your divine essence. There is a calmness that permeates your being as you embrace this truth. No longer do you find yourself rushing or pushing against the flow of life. Instead, you become like water, flowing around any obstacle with grace, adjusting effortlessly to the contours of every situation. You understand that each moment holds a lesson, each interaction a mirror, reflecting back to you aspects of yourself that are ready to be transformed or embraced. As you walk this path, you come to realize that I Am is not only a tool for manifesting desires, but a means of self-realization, a profound awakening to the interconnectedness of all things. This awakening brings a deep compassion and empathy for those around you. You start to see others not as separate entities, but as expressions of the same divine source, each carrying their own unique spark of I Am. In this unity, there is no competition, no comparison, only a shared journey towards self-discovery. You become a source of support, lifting others as you lift yourself, knowing that every act of kindness, every gesture of love, resonates far beyond what the eye can see. Your own awareness radiates outward, touching lives in ways that you may never fully understand, yet trusting that each small ripple of love creates waves of transformation. The world around you may still be filled with noise, with distractions and challenges, but you remain unmoved, rooted in the awareness of who you are. The outer world begins to lose its power over you as you become more deeply anchored in your inner reality. You find that your peace, your joy, your fulfillment are not dependent on any external condition. Instead, they flow from within, from the steady, unbreakable bond you have cultivated with your I Am awareness. This is true freedom, a liberation from the chains of circumstance and expectation, a realization that you are the master of your own experience. With this inner freedom comes a sense of fearlessness. You are no longer bound by the limitations of the mind, by the voices of doubt or insecurity. These voices may still arise, but you see them for what they are, remnants of an old self that no longer holds power over you. Each time they appear, you gently bring yourself back to the present moment, back to the truth of I Am, knowing that this truth is stronger than any illusion of fear. In this space, you can face any situation, take any leap, knowing that you are supported by the divine power that flows through you. As you walk this path of I Am, your desires begin to take on a new depth. No longer are they shaped by the ego or by the fleeting wants of the world. Instead, they come from a place of authenticity, from a heart aligned with the divine. You begin to seek not just for yourself but for the greater good, understanding that when you uplift others, you uplift yourself. Your desires become a reflection of your soul's true purpose, a purpose that is in harmony with the vastness of life itself. You feel a calling to contribute, to create, to bring beauty and light into the world, not for recognition or reward, but simply for the joy of being in alignment with the divine. In this state, you experience a profound sense of fulfillment. You are no longer chasing after happiness or success. Instead, you embody them. You radiate a quiet confidence, an inner knowing that all is well, that everything is unfolding in divine timing. Even when things appear to be going wrong, you understand that there is a higher intelligence at work, guiding you, teaching you, preparing you for something greater. This understanding allows you to remain patient, to trust the process, to hold on to your vision without attachment or anxiety. You know that the universe has heard your ask, that your desire is already on its way to you. The journey with I Am teaches you to live in the now, to find joy in each moment, to appreciate the beauty of the present. You no longer wait for some future event to bring you happiness. You create it here and now, with each thought, each breath, each declaration of I Am. This presence becomes your greatest gift, a source of peace that remains unshaken by the ups and downs of life. It allows you to find wonder in the ordinary, to see the divine in the everyday, to recognize that every moment is a part of the greater tapestry of your life, woven together by the threads of your consciousness. Living in this way, you become a channel for miracles. Your life becomes a testament to the power of I Am, an example of what is possible when one lives in harmony with their divine essence. Others may see the changes in you, may feel drawn to the light you radiate, may ask how they too can experience this peace, this joy, this freedom. And in that moment you have the opportunity to share this truth, to guide them back to their own power, to help them discover the I Am within. For this journey is not meant to be taken alone. It is a journey of unity, of connection, of recognizing the divinity in all. With each day, each moment, you deepen your understanding of I Am. You come to see that this simple statement is not just an affirmation, but a doorway to the infinite. It is a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the temporal and the eternal. Through I Am, you come to know the vastness of your own being, to touch the mystery of existence, to experience the boundless love that flows through all things. You realize that you are not separate from this love. You are a part of it, an expression of it, a vessel through which it flows into the world. This realization transforms everything. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you see others, the way you interact with life. You no longer feel the need to prove or defend yourself, for you know who you are. You no longer seek validation from the world, for you have found it within. You live with a quiet assurance, a deep inner peace, a joy that cannot be shaken. You walk through life with grace, with compassion, with a love that touches everyone you meet. You are no longer merely a participant in life. You are a creator, a co-author of your own story, a conscious being who shapes reality with every thought, every word, every declaration of I Am. And so each day you continue to ask I Am, not as a plea or a demand, but as an invitation, a loving request to bring forth your highest potential. You ask not out of lack, but out of the fullness of your own being, out of a desire to experience all that life has to offer, to live in harmony with the divine. You ask with faith, with gratitude, with a heart that is open to receiving. And as you do, you find that life begins to respond in ways you could never have imagined, bringing you blessings, opportunities, and miracles that are beyond your wildest dreams. This is the journey of I Am. It is a journey of self-discovery, of transformation, of awakening to the divine power within. It is a journey that has no end, for each step reveals new depths, new heights, new dimensions of your own being. It is a journey that calls you to live fully, to love deeply, to create fearlessly, to be a beacon of light in a world that is searching for truth. And as you walk this path, you come to realize that the power you sought was never outside of you. It was always within, waiting for you to recognize it, to embrace it, to live it. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, every moment of stillness brings you closer to the awareness of I Am as the core of your existence. The quiet understanding settles within you that you are more than the temporary body, more than the roles you play, and more than the circumstances surrounding you. Each time you return to this truth, you remember that I am is timeless, untouched by external changes, unfazed by the illusions of limitation that the world may present. This awareness is the essence of true freedom, the kind that cannot be taken away, no matter where you find yourself or what obstacles you face. The more you nurture this connection with I am, the more sensitive you become to its subtle voice within. It is a voice that guides, inspires, and gently corrects. It encourages you when you are faced with doubt and provides wisdom when the path forward seems unclear. You come to trust this inner guidance, realizing that it is an extension of the divine intelligence, speaking through your own soul. This guidance, however, does not shout or demand, it whispers, and so it requires you to cultivate stillness, to quiet the mind, to listen deeply. In this way, you transform your life from one driven by external influences to one led by the light within. In the presence of I am, you start to perceive life as an unfolding masterpiece. Rather than chasing after fulfillment, you realize that each moment already holds everything you need. When you say, I am peaceful, I am joyful, or I am abundant, you are not waiting for circumstances to align, but declaring that these qualities already exist within you. This shift is powerful. It frees you from the need for approval, validation, or material confirmation. You recognize that peace, joy, and abundance are states of being, not destinations. By embodying these qualities now, you become a magnet, attracting experiences that resonate with your inner state. In this process, you learn that manifestation is not about forcing or controlling outcomes, but about aligning yourself with the energy of what you desire. When you want something, rather than asking from a place of lack, you declare it with faith. You say, I am successful, and feel the truth of that statement in your body, mind, and spirit. This feeling is the secret ingredient, the fuel that propels your desires into reality. You understand that the universe is responsive to energy, that it mirrors back to you the frequency you emit. By embodying the energy of your desire now, you become the living embodiment of what you wish to experience. Through this practice, patience blossoms naturally within you. No longer are you anxious or restless, wondering when your desires will materialize. You have come to understand that there is a divine timing, a rhythm to the unfolding of life that cannot be rushed. You trust that as long as you hold the feeling of I am with unwavering conviction, everything will come at the right moment. There is a beautiful peace in this surrender, a release from the need to control every outcome. You realize that life in all its vast wisdom knows exactly what you need and when you need it. This trust allows you to relax, to flow with grace, and to remain centered no matter what arises. As this relationship with I am deepens, you experience a profound transformation in your perception of yourself and others. You begin to see beyond the surface, to the essence of everyone you encounter. In the eyes of a stranger, you recognize the same spark of the divine, the same I am that lives within you. This realization fosters a natural compassion, a kindness that flows effortlessly from your heart. You no longer feel separate or isolated, but connected to all of creation, a part of a vast, interconnected web of life. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to honor this unity, to express love, to uplift, and to support. With each passing day, you notice how your reality shifts in response to your inner alignment. Opportunities appear, connections are made, and resources flow toward you, all without force or struggle. This is the power of I am in action. By focusing on your true nature, by affirming and embodying the qualities you desire, you become a co-creator with the universe. Life becomes a dance between you and the divine, a harmonious partnership where your intentions align with the greater flow of existence. There is a joy in this dance, a lightness, as you realize that life is not something to be battled or endured, but embraced with trust and delight. Each time you face a challenge, you return to I am, you affirm. I am resilient, I am capable, I am divinely guided. These statements are not just words, they are declarations of truth, reminders of the power that resides within you. In this way, challenges lose their ability to unsettle you, for you know that whatever arises, you have the strength and wisdom to overcome it. You no longer view setbacks as failures but as opportunities to deepen your faith, to expand your capacity to embody the divine within. Each challenge becomes a stepping stone, a means by which you grow closer to your true self. As this journey continues, your life becomes a testimony to the power of I am. People may wonder about the source of your peace, the reason for your joy, the secret to your resilience. They may see the abundance that surrounds you, the opportunities that seem to flow effortlessly into your life. And in their curiosity, they may seek answers, wanting to understand how they too can experience this freedom. You realize then that your journey is not just for you, but for all those who are searching, who long to awaken to their own divine potential. By living in alignment with I am, you become a light, a guide, an inspiration for others to embark on their own path of self-discovery. In this way, the circle of transformation expands. As you share your understanding, as you model the power of I am, others are encouraged to look within, to question their own beliefs, to reconnect with their divine essence. You plant seeds of awakening in the hearts of those around you, seeds that will one day blossom into a collective recognition of the divinity within all. This is the gift of your journey, a gift that extends beyond you, reaching into the lives of others, creating ripples of transformation that span far and wide. And so, with each moment, each breath, you continue to honor I am. You remain rooted in this truth, embodying it fully, allowing it to shape and guide every aspect of your life. In this awareness, you find all that you have ever sought, all that you will ever need, for you have awakened to the infinite within. You know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you are a divine being, an expression of the eternal, a living testament to the power and beauty of I am. In the end, understanding the power of I am is not about wishing for things outside yourself, but about awakening to the truth of who you are. By aligning with this divine essence, you connect to the infinite source of creation, peace, and abundance that resides within. When you declare I am, you claim your unity with the divine, allowing life to flow effortlessly through you. This journey is a call to trust, to surrender, and to embody the qualities of the life you desire, knowing that as you do, the universe reflects this inner state back to you. Remember that I am is your anchor, your guide, and the source of all fulfillment. Live each day as an embodiment of this truth, and watch as life transforms in ways beyond what you could have imagined.